In the digital era, over-reliance on the internet to find jobs is limiting your ability to find opportunities because many jobs are not posted online. How many jobs are out there that you don't know about? And what can you do about it? And what about the all-important interview process? Most of us interview when we need to, not because we like to. And how do you prepare for it? Many people rely on their resumes to do their speaking for them. And even if you have a good resume, all it's meant to do is get you in the door and seated before a hiring manager. At that moment, your resume has fulfilled its purpose. There's a lot of process ahead of you. What are you going to do? What are you going to say to outshine others who want the same job? My name is Michael Mayher. I've been a recruiter for over 25 years on 2 different continents. I work closely with both hiring managers and job seekers, working closely with them throughout the entire process. I have an insight that is rare, that few others have. And with this experience, I teach and empower people how to better help themselves to win the job they want. I challenge people to learn or relearn the soft skills that are being lost in a single generation, the very soft skills that we used to take for granted. Take a few minutes to review this information and consider how I can deliver this to your students, groups, or organization. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. Everything that you would have to do from the moment you begin to look for a job right on through until you accept an offer, even resignation. We're going to talk about everything. Over the last 25 years, I know the interview process inside and out. So cold calling, it can be scary, but you notice that if you try cold calling, each time you do it, it gets a little bit easier. And you know what? They don't know you. If they hang up on you, who cares? You never have. If you run into a jerk, celebrate. That's one less idiot you ever have to speak to again. You know, you've got to have this attitude that, you know, they can kill me, but they can't eat me. So what? What I would do sometimes, and you've got to get through gatekeepers. We're going to talk about gatekeepers. If I got in an uncomfortable position, in the middle of a sentence, I'd hang up. I'd collect my thoughts, cool down, take a deep breath, and then I'd call back and I'd say, I don't know what happened, we got disconnected. And I'd take up where I left off. You've got to think outside the box. If there's something you want and there's a barricade in front of you and you want it, can anyone stop you? I mean, maybe it's just me, but if there's an obstacle, I'm going to go around it, I'm going to go under it, I'm going to go over it, or I'm going to just knock through it. I give things 3 tries. If I don't get through, I move on. Mark your calendar, call back in 3 months. And we talk about this shortly with administrative people like, receptionists and secretaries. Call at lunchtime. You know why? Because the receptionist or secretary might be out at lunch and someone else is sitting there who really doesn't give a damn and they'll put you through. I mean, there's so many different things. If you want to get through, you find a way. If you can't, you move on to the next thing. All right, referrals. Referrals are important. Networking. Here's the sad fact. Networking has nothing to do with LinkedIn or Facebook. Networking has nothing to do with a computer network. Networking is networking with like-minded people that you can turn to and say, hey, have you heard anything? If you hear of anything like this, let me know. We find it through relatives, professional acquaintances, people that we know. Networking is actually talking to people and interacting. And again, we're more disconnected now than ever. All of the above. All of it. You employ everything. You can try anything. If it doesn't work, again, if you call, they don't know you. They'll never remember you if you call back a week later, unless you do something really weird. Manner of speaking, all right? Tone. If you speak English and you end the phrase on a high note, it sounds like a question, and it also kind of suggests a lack of confidence. If you end a phrase on a lower tone, it exudes confidence, and it is perceived as a statement of fact. Give you an example. If I talk to somebody and I say, yeah, well, if we work together, my fee is 30%. That's okay, isn't it? Or If I say, if we work together, my fee is 30%. That's okay, isn't it? Do you see the difference? Voice inflection matters. Again, if you're all hyper and you're shrill, you might come across as nervous. If you're measured, not monotone or sounding comatose, but if you're calm and you're definite and you're distinct, it exudes confidence. If you are calling into a company, you don't necessarily have to be calling about an opening. If you can find a hiring manager and you have a compelling FAB presentation and a compelling reason, and you get someone on the phone, you say, hey, you know, if you'd ever like, you know, I'd love to meet you for 30 minutes and just have a business conversation. That works sometimes. See, we're all thinking of, there's got to be an opening. It's got to be online. They got to be looking for someone just like you that fits the money, that fits the background. Not always. Because hiring and employing is still about people. It's still about relationships. When you're in a meeting, the clock's ticking. At a minimum, most interviews last 30 minutes. You got 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour? I don't know. It depends on how things go. The clock is ticking. You've got to get your points across. You've got things to communicate. Again, everyone thinks that we're on the receiving end. Well, it depends on what they want to know from me. You have information you want to share with them, okay? Silence your mobile phone. Never look at or use your never accept a call and start BSing on the phone. I don't care what it is, unless someone's about to have a baby or someone's in an ambulance somewhere. Shut that phone off. Don't even look at it. If you even look at it, it looks like you got better things to do. Remember why you're there. Remember, what's the goal? The next step, a face-to-face interview. Breathe. Take it easy. Commit 100% of your attention on this, your moment to get down to business. It may be only 20 minutes, it may be an hour. When you're done, you can chill out. But for now, I want you to focus when you're at an interview. No other distractions. Take a deep breath. Forget about everything else. Go in an interview. Engage in small talk at the end of the interview, not the beginning. Of course. They'll say, oh, well, you know, I see that you worked at such and such place. Of course, there's a little bit of chit-chat at the beginning. Limit it. You want to get down to business. Not rudely, so that you cut them off mid-sentence. Just don't get sidetracked. This is an interview technique, by the way. Sometimes they'll do this stuff. They'll engage you in some conversation. And then you'll talk about your life story. And they'll look and say, this person can't focus. First time interview. Someone will say, how much money do you want? First of all, my personal opinion is it is an extremely improper question to ask you in a first interview. First interview, you're there to learn about the job. Because the job posting you answered tells you nothing. You need to learn about the job. The more you know about the job, the more you'll be able to answer the money question later. Equally, they're screening you to see if you're qualified. So when they say, how much money do you want? It's a screening question. Consider this. Say a number too high, they might not call you back. Say a number too low, you're cheating yourself. How can you determine how much money you want? You don't know about the job yet. So let's see. Like I say, I don't think it's in your best interest. Let me preface this by saying, I want you to avoid the money question. I'm not saying refuse to answer it. I had a person who I sent out an interview and I told them, avoid the money question. In the first interview, they were asked, how much money do you want? They wouldn't answer. They wouldn't let go. HR, how much money do you want? And the candidate literally said, I'm not going to tell you. It's not the right time to talk about it. It's true, but I didn't want them to say that. That interview was over because HR was so angry. So I want you to, when you are able to avoid the question,